Hare Krishna. I welcome everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us today. And we are continuing our Bhagavad Gita as it is series. Today we are on chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita. And the chapter 4 is called as Transcendental Knowledge. And we have Her Grace Lalitangi Radha Mataji with us. And Mataji will be walking us through the summary of the 4th chapter. And as we have seen all these days, this is going to be a high-end presentation, meaning a review of the entire chapter so that you get an idea of what this chapter has to offer. So Lalitangi Mataji, you can now take over chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for this opportunity. And I welcome all of you for this 18 chapters in 18 sessions, Bhagavad Gita as it is by Bhakti Sangha Japa group. So we are trying to have an overall view of each chapter. We are not going in depth, but just trying to cover the main concepts in that chapter. And we are in the 4th chapter now. So welcome everyone. So we'll start with prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. Our respectful obeisances unto you, O Spiritual Master, servant of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Deva and delivering the Western countries which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhara Pandit, Srivas Thakur, and all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. O energy of Krishna, please engage me in your service. So mantra, the word mantra man means mind and tran means deliverance. So the arrangement of syllables in such a way that which a repetition of which will relieve the mind from the afflictions is called a mantra. So for the mantra to work, we need to hear the mantra through the ears and then absorb ourselves in the sound vibration of the mantra. And this is called Maha Mantra, because the great chanting for deliverance, because there are absolutely no rules and regulations for chanting this mantra. And at the same time, even if we chant with offenses, it gives us benefit. And that way, this mantra is very effective in this age of Kali. So I request if you can practice chanting this a fixed number of times, that would help us in understanding Bhagavad Gita. So we are in chapter 4, the lineage of transcendental knowledge. So just a quick recap. So in the first chapter, we saw that Arjuna saw all of his friends and relatives assembled in the battlefield, ready to fight. And when he was actually going to the middle of the two armies to check out the strength of the enemy army, he broke down because he did not have a strength to see that practically all of his relatives are arrayed there. And he started reasoning out so many arguments how this fight is not going to help him, neither anyone else. And but still he was confused that now having come to the battlefield, his duty was to fight. So he was torn apart and he couldn't resolve this issue by himself. So he surrendered to Krishna and asked him to accept him as a disciple and tell uh, that which is ultimately good for him. So then in the second chapter, Krishna started explaining about the difference between the soul and the body. And he said that none of these people, including you and me and all these kings, are ever going to die because we never were born. We, the living entity who's inhabiting this body, who's embodied, continues to live. And how, after explaining this knowledge, he also explained how to practically apply this knowledge through sense control and mind control and engaging our human faculties to find the purpose of life, or to engage the human faculties in connecting with the Supreme, for which a human being is given valuable resources. So then in the third chapter, Arjuna begins that I understand the spiritual knowledge and it is so easy to go by myself in solitude and practice the spiritual knowledge. But I cannot connect how fighting this ghastly warfare could be an expression of understanding that spiritual knowledge. And then Krishna answered his various questions and told him that how even to keep his body and soul together, he has to eat food. To eat the food, he has to work. And by not working, he's committing sinful activities. And he also explained how to do the work in such a way that he can connect to God. Karma done as a yoga. So, and at the end of the third chapter, Lord Krishna said that having transcendental knowledge will prevent one from falling down into the miserable whirlpool of repeated birth and death. So, what is this transcendental knowledge? He's starting the fourth chapter. So, the first verse is this: Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavanaham Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakave Bravit. The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivasvan. And Vivasvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. So this is a flashback. You've seen flashback in the movies. So Krishna is saying a flashback of how he told this knowledge to the king of the sun planet called Vivasvan. So we know that sun is the source of heat and light. And if there is no sun, the solar system cannot exist. All the planets, and including the moon and all the luminaries, are taking their power of light from the sun. So in the Vedas, the position of the sun is explained as a king of all planets. And as we know that all the natural resources that we call like earth, water, fire, air, or ether, all the elements basically without which we cannot survive, are being controlled by a person whom we don't see. But then it's logic that if anything is going on, if there is an intelligent organization, that means there is an intelligent person behind it. And we saw that how the demigods are the invisible controllers of these natural resources. And by taking these natural resources for our healthy living, we are indebted to them. And if we don't pay them back, we are called thieves, stena eva saha, because we are taking something. As much as if we don't pay the electricity bill or water bill, it gets cut off. So like that way, these are available in the universe, and we are taking from them. They are demigods, and the sun is a king of all planets, and there is a uh, uh, the person sun god or the king of the sun planet is Vivaswan. So Krishna said that I instructed this science to the sun god Vivaswan, and Vivaswan instructed to his son Manu. Actually, the mankind, the word man comes from the word Manu, and Manu instructed it to his son Ikshvaku, and Ikshvaku is the emperor of the Bharata Varsha, and Ikshvaku is a forefather of the dynasty of Lord Ramachandra, who is an incarnation in Treta Yuga. So Ikshvaku, there is a reference to uh, the science being spoken to Ikshvaku at the beginning of the Treta Yuga, which when we calculated, it is like around 2 million years. But then the um, lifetime of a Manu, I mean, it comes in detail in the 8th chapter, which is 1 day of Brahma is so long, and in 1 day of Brahma, 14 Manus change the reins. So the reign of one Manu is called one Manvantara. So 1 day of Brahma has 1,000 Chatur Yugas. One Chatur Yuga is Satya, Treta, Dwapara, Kali put together. Kali Yuga is 432,000 years, and one Chatur Yuga, or the unit of 4 yugas put together, is 10 times that of Kali Yuga. That is 432,000 into 10 human years. And like that way, the 4 Chatur Yugas come on a cycle 1,000 times in a day of Brahma. And in that, if we divide that by 14 Manus, it is 71 Yuga cycles is the lifetime of Manu. So why are we going into this thing? So the Manu, Vivaswan spoke it to Manu, and Krishna spoke it to sun god. So the current Manu is 28 cycles have gone, and if we calculate that, how much years is it according to human millions? Is 120,400,000 years ago. Before the birth of Manu, the Gita was spoken by the Lord to his disciple, the sun god Vivaswan. A rough estimate is that Gita was spoken at least 120,400,000 years ago. So there is no question of anything in competition to this great literature. And that's why Bhagavad Gita, the law of God, it is resurrected by Krishna from time to time. And Arjuna received this timeless message 5,000 years ago. Let's see why. Because Krishna said, I spoke it to sun god Vivaswan, and then Vivaswan spoke it to Manu. Manu spoke it to Ikshvaku, and that's why it comes in the succession. One spiritual master speaks it to his disciple, and the disciple becomes a spiritual master. He speaks it to his disciple. In that way, it is passed down in a disciplic succession. So what was the need for Arjuna, for Krishna to talk it again to Arjuna 5,000 years ago? This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. So how come the succession was broken? How come the knowledge can be lost? The knowledge can be lost by one thing. What is that? As soon as the original purpose was scattered by the motives of the unscrupulous commentators, there arose the need to re-establish the disciplic succession. For example, we all played this game called telephone when we were young. And one person says, something in the ear of the other kid, and then it goes on, passes on like that. And when it comes back, it's totally distorted. It's rarely that the original message was conveyed as it is, because when a hearing, there is somewhere someone heard it and then he did not tell it properly, or the purpose for which it was told was scattered. I say something and then I intended a purpose for it, but then down 3%, third person down the line, but if he changes the purpose, then the knowledge gets lost like this. So when I learned Bhagavad Gita, my teacher gave this example of how a mangoes is typically picked in an orchard in a village. So the mango is, it's a very, all the fruits, of course, have to be taken care that they are carefully picked and handed down. The mango that is in the topmost branch, there are people who are standing in different branches and there are baskets. So they pick the mangoes and then they put in the basket and then they give it to the next person and then he hands it to the next person and he hands it to the next person. Like that way, if the basket is handled as it is, then the person down can get a basket full of mangoes. Suppose in the middle, some person thinks that let me take a bite of this mango, or let me take few mangoes and then fill it up with leaves. And then the third person, he says, oh, the second person has taken some mangoes and filled it up with leaves. So let me take some more mangoes and fill it up with twigs. And like that way, when it comes, hardly there could be any mango in the end. So this is a crude example to say that how in a disciplic succession, when the purpose of the Lord is not maintained, and that's why he says that unscrupulous commentators, they want to take the knowledge of God, but they don't want to give credit to God. They don't want to accept the supremacy of the Lord or the purpose for which this science was spoken. So that was lost. So until I also read Bhagavad Gita as it is, I had a different idea of what was Bhagavad Gita because it was not clear. One thing I surely thought was that Bhagavad Gita is not practical for this age, and it was an age-old tradition, and it is something that you have to take only when you're old. So all these conceptions were broken only when I read this Bhagavad Gita as it is. So this is this science. Why did Krishna speak it to the king of sun god? So Bhagavad Gita is for executive heads of the states and also for people who are in responsible position, not for old people to pass time or someone to write a commentary just to to become famous. Because the kings are primarily responsible for spiritual evolution of their subjects. We saw that even in this age, the president, they are responsible, or anyone for that matter, a famous person, is looked upon as an example, as a role model. It can be in any field. But a famous person, yad yad acharati sreshtas tattad eve taro janaha. Whatever a great man does, common man repeats. If the president did not put the mask, then why would the citizens put mask? And then the tolls increases. This is, and in the countries where the president is careful, we can see that how the coronavirus rate is still under control. Even now it is applicable. So the kings are, this knowledge is to be taught to the kings, because the kings have to apply this knowledge and practice this knowledge and be an example for the others to follow. So this disciplic succession, Bhagavad Gita as it is, the current Bhagavad Gita, which is written by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, he is coming in the disciplic succession of starting from Krishna, Brahma, Narada, Vyasa, and all these gurus. And finally, now we have His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who wrote this Bhagavad Gita as it is. And what is the speciality of achieving this knowledge or receiving this knowledge through the disciplic succession? A disciplic succession, a disciple is faithful to the guru. So he takes the knowledge from the guru and he doesn't mix his own independent ideas in it. So he presents the knowledge according to his own realization, of course, according to the time, place, and circumstances, but the original purpose is not changed. So because of that, the knowledge is as it is. That's why this Bhagavad Gita is called Bhagavad Gita as it is. You may ask me, how is it is it equivalent to Arjuna hearing from Krishna? Yes, it is. As much as you don't need to be in the top branch to get that mango. But if the mango basket is passed properly down, you will get the same mango. So similarly, even though we are 5,000 years away, we would get the same benefit as Arjuna got when he heard it from the Lord directly, because this knowledge is passed down in the disciplic succession without any change. And this puts us also into a great responsibility that we thoroughly study this and we always stick to what we heard. And when we have a doubt, we consult the seniors and the book, whether it is right or wrong. So in that way, the purity of the knowledge is maintained in the disciplic succession. So we know why he spoke it again to Arjuna, but why to Arjuna? Why not to anyone else? So he says that very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, and I didn't talk to Shishupal or Duryodhana because they're envious of me. But you are my devotee and my friend. So friend means opposite to enemy. Enemy comes from the word enviousness. Enviousness means we want to take the position of the Lord. We are not ready to be friendly to the Lord. But Arjuna was not such a kind. Arjuna was a devotee and as well as a friend of the Lord. And so he was selected as a recipient for this great science. But if we have that envious mentality of the Lord, we may not, it's not possible for us to understand this great mysterious science. Why? Suppose if I'm envious of someone, so even if that XYZ does something very nicely, I would find fault because I am envious. So similarly, you may ask me a question, how is it possible to be envious of God? Because we don't even see God. The very nature that we want to be the undisputed enjoyer and creator and lord over and be the dominant factor in wherever we are, we want to excel. If it's in the neighborhood, we want to have the best car. If it's in a work place, we want to show the best result. if our kid should become the best. So this mentality of competition with the Lord is inborn in us. Unless we understand this knowledge that how we are not actually the competitor for the Lord, we are not supreme enjoyer, but we are a cooperator. But by cooperating with the Lord, we enjoy immensely. So that we will see it in the later chapters. So he said this to Arjuna, and he would have continued to say what he wanted to say in this chapter. Thankfully for us, Arjuna asks a question. We should be very thankful to Arjuna's question, because without his questions, we will not be able to understand Bhagavad Gita in depth. He asks such pertinent questions that Krishna has no other choice but to say more about himself and about the science. So Arjuna is asking, Aparam bhavato janma, param janma vivasvatah. Katam etad vijaniyam tvam proktavan iti. The sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed the science to him? So we saw how many years senior? Not 1 or 2 years, 120,400,000 years. So this was a flashback that Krishna was referring to. So Arjuna is asking, Krishna, you are my contemporary and you are my cousin, and you were born when I was born. But how did you tell this to sun god who's very senior in birth? So in those days, it's not like this. We don't have any spiritual education now. But those days, any person, they would go to Gurukula and they would understand how this Vedic cosmology is created, who's sun god and what is he doing. So that's why you see many examples of sun god in the whole of Bhagavad Gita. So he was asking that sun god is senior by birth. How come you spoke it? So it is not that he doesn't know, but for an ordinary person, it's very hard to understand. How come a person who's talking to me now is telling something that happened 120 million years ago? So to clarify this point, Arjuna was asking this question. So Krishna is answering brilliantly. Many births, both you and I have passed. But you know what's the difference? I can remember all of them, but you cannot. This is 4.5. So how is Krishna remembering? For that, we have to understand how we forget. If you ask me, what do you remember what happened when you were 5 years old? I mean, when I was young, there were no cell phones, there were no, at least even not a analog camera was not so common. So I have, we all used to go to the black and white studio and take a picture. I have a few pictures, but other than that, I don't remember much. Maybe a few incidents here and there. So then the same way, I may remember more what happened in the school, but then what happened in the college, what happened when I was working. So all these things, it's like cloudy now. So basically, we forget because our mind and body uh, grows or changes. For example, what absorbs me now didn't absorb me when I was 5 years old. The circumstances, everything was different. Even medical science accepts that every 7 years, the cells in the body change. So similarly, I don't remember anything of my previous life. From Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, we understood that we did not come into existence just at the point of birth and will not cease to exist at the time of death. So definitely I have existed before this birth. But where and who was my family members? What were I doing? Was I a human being? Was I in this planet? I don't remember anything, because due to the change of my body. In this life only I forget, because my body is changing from boyhood to youth to old age. And similarly, in the previous life I forget, because I don't have that body. So But then Krishna does not change his body. He is Satchid Ananda. Sat means eternal, Chit means fully conscious, and Ananda means blissful. So my body is Asat, means it's temporary, and Chid, it's not conscious, like it's dull matter. Krishna's body, there's no difference between Krishna's body and himself. Like I have a difference, there is a difference between the sari that I'm wearing and my body. Same way, there's a difference between my body and myself. But Krishna is completely absolute, that the dhoti, the flute, the turban, everything that he wears is the same spiritual quality as his body and his soul. There is no difference, distinction between the body and himself. He is completely spirit. Everything in relation to him is spirit. So that is why when he descends to this material platform also, he is not under material laws because his body is not under material laws. He can remember all those births that he has passed. Even though Arjuna was present with the Lord in some capacity, when the Lord spoke this Bhagavad Gita to Sun God, Arjuna didn't remember that. So the point is, even though a person can be a Lord's associate, a liberated person is never equal to him. He is, uh, there's nobody equal to him, nobody above him. And that's why he says, although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I'm the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. We'll see why. But it is like, if you see Krishna's body, then you may say that Krishna was also born as a small baby. And then he became a 5-year-old. Then he became a 10-year-old. Then when he became youth, and after that he never aged. So after youth, we all get gray hairs and wrinkles. But Krishna had such youthful body that even when Duryodhana saw Krishna, he couldn't help himself being attracted to the lotus eyes of the Lord. He was always youthful. That's why we say that astonishingly enough, he never ages beyond youth. And that is a proof that his body is Satchidananda. It means completely spiritual and not material. And another example is that the sun sets here, but when it sets here, it's risen in Japan and Australia. When it sets there, it is risen here. So basically, the sun appears and disappears in front of the sides doesn't mean that the sun is born every single day. Similarly, the Lord continues to appear and disappear in different material universes according to the need, just like the sun. So that's why he is not taking birth like ordinary beings. And then why does he do that? Why does he appear? He can be happily in the spiritual world, and he's completely satisfied in himself. So why does he appear? Because he cares for us. And that's why he says this is a very, very famous shloka. This is one shloka that everybody in India would know, thanks to the Mahabharata serial. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam shujamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice or descendant of Bharata and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I dissent myself. So you see, he has set everything in motion, and he has given the Vedas, and he has set the Dharma, the law of him. But when the demoniac energies have an upsurge and then they want to topple the law of God, then he appears again to set it right. Because he cares for us, and there is a purpose of the creation of this world, and to enable us to achieve that purpose, he comes. And sometimes he descends personally, and sometimes he sends his bona fide representative in the form of his son, or servant or himself in some disguised form. And not necessary that he always comes in the Indian soil. He can appear anywhere else also. And what is the purpose? He appears to set right the dharma, but in detail what he does, how does he set right the dharma? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samstapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. So he has many agents who can vanquish the demons. Like he see here in this picture he has come as Lord Narasimha Deva, who is a half man. Till the neck he is man, and he has a face of a lion. That's because the Hiranyakashipu whom he is killing got a boon that I should neither be killed by animal nor by human being. So he took a form to suit the boon. And then he just using his nails, he's piercing. Because Hiranyakashipu was very cruel to his own son Prahalad, who was a devotee of the Lord. So in this way, he is omnipotent and he doesn't need to appear to kill the demons, but mainly his main purpose is to appease the devotees. It's like a trailer. He gives a trailer of how the spiritual world is and what his personality is. So all of us seeing the trailer, we would get a ticket for the real movie, which is in the spiritual world. So he said he is coming yuge yuge. Every yuga he has come. And what do you mean by avatar? Avatar means descend. Someone who has descended from the kingdom of God into the material manifestations. So they continue to exist, but when they descend into the material creation, they assume the name avatar. So immediately we may wonder, at the present age is called Kali Yuga, the iron age. Who is the incarnation? Of course, there is an incarnation, that is the Lord himself coming at the end of the Kali Yuga. But then now, to give us all a chance to establish the Dharma again, he has come as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has spread this Krishna consciousness throughout India. And fortunately for us, he appeared only 5,000 years. So you may wonder, what is this? He looks very simple with just, a dhoti, and he doesn't look like God with the magnanimity of God. But he is God who has come as a devotee to show us how to perform devotion. So in all the other incarnations, he said, worship me. But when he came as a devotee, he said, this is how you worship me. And he showed how to worship him. And what was the method that he taught? That is congregational chanting of the holy names. We all come together and chant the holy names of the Lord, and understand also why we chant the holy names of the Lord. And he predicted that this culture of Sankirtana, or chanting the holy names of the Lord, is not only for particular people in India, but it will be spread all over the world. And he specifically mentioned from town to town and village to village. There will be no inch of a space in the world that will be uncovered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. And his main Maha Mantra is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that is a weapon that he got. And what is a demon he's killing with that weapon? He's coming inside our own hearts and killing the demon through the sound vibration of this mantra, which is himself. So he himself has become the mantra, and he is killing the demoniac propensities. So, and then this is a culmination of the shlokas that so far Krishna said. This is Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam Evam Yo Veti Tattvataha Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mameti Sorjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities. This janma and karma does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So far he spoke about his janma, how his appearance is not like ordinary. His body is not material. Although he is unborn, he is coming for a purpose to re-establish the principles of religion. This is the transcendental secret or a mystery of his birth. His birth is not called birth because there is no death for him. So that's why we call him, he's appearing and disappearing. So if we understand the mystery or the transcendental nature of his birth and his activities, then what do we gain? We don't need to take birth again in this material world, but we go to his eternal abode. So this perfection can be achieved only by knowing the supreme personality of Godhead. So this is a shloka that Srila Prabhupada, who wrote the Bhagavad Gita as it is, lectured upon mostly. This is one shloka. If you want to, of course, there are many different shloka. That's the essence of Bhagavad Gita. But this is something that is in that list and that can give us the practice of what we have to do. And he says there are different people who worship me, who surrender to me in following different paths. And according to what path they follow, I reward them accordingly. So with his pure devotees, he rewards them, his association, as the devotee wants to serve the Lord. Someone may want to serve him, serve him as a supreme master, someone as a friend, someone as a son, someone as a lover. Krishna reciprocates accordingly. And if someone wants to merge in his impersonal existence, also he reciprocates him. The impersonal Brahma Jyoti is the rays that is emanating from his spiritual body, and he observes him in his rays. And if someone wanting to bless for material benediction in the fruitive activities, he also rewards them accordingly. And what is the reason for different people performing different activities? Because they are all in the different modes of nature, and all these modes of, according to their modes of nature, and they do work. So what is the work they do? Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha tasya kartaram abhimam vidya kartaram avyayam. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of the system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So this is an accusation that why Krishna himself has created four divisions. No, he did not create these divisions, but it is naturally there. In a country, we see there are some people who are counselors and some people who are administrators, who are in the Navy and Army, and some people who are in the mercantile, who are doing the business, corporate, and some people who are doing the labor work. Is it not? It's natural that these divisions are there in any country. You cannot see a country where there are only laborers, or where there are only army men and no corporates, or where there are only corporates and no counselors. So these, how one person wants to be a counselor, and one is a corporate person, one is an administrator, and one is a labor, based on the three modes of material nature and the work: goodness, passion, and ignorance, sattva guna, raja guna, and tamo guna. Based on that, they perform work, not based on birth. So based on the material modes of nature and based on the work they create, these four divisions are created by him. Why is he creating? Just like if there is only head instead of hands and legs, how will a body function? Body needs hands, legs, head, and everything else. So these are all different divisions of the body. Similarly, for the social body to work perfectly, everybody to be peaceful, each one has to be doing their part in the puzzle. So that's why he created the divisions, and according to the modes of nature and the work, each one can fit into these occupations. And but the beauty is that it doesn't matter which occupation each person is, they can all achieve the supreme goal. And what about him? Is he under the laws of material nature? Is he affected by the activities of the material world? No, just like the king, or there is a saying that the king is not subject to the state laws. So you can see that, to impeach a president is not an ordinary thing. There is so much of a thing that you have to undergo to pass through. So similarly, it is taken that the king does no wrong and he's not subject to the laws. So similarly, the creator of the material world, he's the creator of the material world and he's not affected by the activities of the material world. But we are affected by the activities. Then you may wonder, if he is my supreme controller, then he should be responsible for the right and the wrong activities I do. This many people in India, they say, God wanted me to, if God wants me to come to him, then I will come to the temple. No, but God wants me to go to cinema, so I'm going to the cinema. No, that's not a sound logic, because it's like this. There is a owner and then there are workers or employees, and he gives them salary. But with that, what they do and what suffering and enjoyment they get, is the owner or a person who gives them salary, is he responsible for that? No. So similarly, the Lord is the proprietor, but uh, he is the living entities are engaged in their respective activities, uh, but they are responsible. Although the Lord is facilitating the action, he is not responsible. As much as another example is that rains, there are rains, okay? In a farmer puts good seeds and there are good plants there. And then in some other place, there is a poisonous seed and there is a poisonous plant. And some other seeds, there are things that are, uh, unmentionable and caught by customs, drugs, they grow that. But is the rains responsible? The rains are not responsible for the different types of vegetation, although without rains, there is no possibility of vegetative growth. So depending on the seed, there is a vegetation there. So similarly, depending on the propensity to act and the actions, the living entities are getting the reactions, but the Lord is not responsible for their action. So this is a significant difference between us, how we work, and what is the position of the Lord with respect to karma. We are subjected to the laws of karma, but the Lord is not subjected to the laws of karma. That doesn't mean that he doesn't care for us. As much as a teacher, he cares for the student, right? The teacher says, this is what the question is, and this is what this is if you follow my class and if you do as what I say, then you get good marks. But is the teacher responsible for for the student who gets a first mark and the student who fails? The student who fails doesn't want to listen to the teacher, so he fails. So similarly, the living entities who don't have a plan to listen to the Lord, we will fail, in the sense that we will not be able to achieve the purpose of human life, but we will go in the merry-go-round of repeated birth and death. But if we choose to listen to the Lord, then we become like a good students, passing out in flying colors. So he says, now this is karma part. He said how he is born and how with respect to karma, he's not touched at all. So both Janma and Karma of the Lord is transcendental. But in reality, karma is not an easy thing to understand. So what is karma? He says that one who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men. And he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. So Bhagavad Gita is like a poem and a poetry spoken by the Supreme Lord. So it's not easy to understand it as it is, unless we have the commentary of the Acharyas, and now in English, Srila Prabhupada has that. The beauty of Srila Prabhupada's English Bhagavad Gita is that even without knowing a bit of Sanskrit, we can understand and grasp the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. So it is such a great work, and we are forever grateful to him for that. So what is karma? Karma is you produce an action and then there is a reaction to that, and those actions are something that is that you are that you should do, which gives good reaction. Vikarma is forbidden action, taking the wealth of somebody else, lusting behind another woman. So what is forbidden action brings? But there is akarma, action without fruitive reactions. You act, but at the end of the day, the balance sheet is zero. You don't have any reaction. So Krishna is saying an intelligent man will be active. He will not be inactive, but he will be actively inactive. How is it that? Just like a hand, it doesn't move on its own accord, but it moves by the endeavor of the whole body. So similarly, a person of knowledge understands that he is not a separate individual, independent enjoyer. He is the part and parcel of the Lord, and he is connected to the Lord through servitorship. So he acts out of the love for the Supreme Lord. And because he is attracted to the Supreme Lord, he is not attracted to the results of his action. So because he is not affected to the results of the action, he is not his work is not affected by the results. Means if it is success or failure, happiness or distress, he doesn't care. He goes on doing the work because his concentration is that he wants to be a part and parcel of the Supreme. He knows that the part played by him as a part and parcel of the whole is not his own activity, but is only being done through him by the Supreme. So all his work are for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord Krishna, whom he is part and parcel to. And so technically they're all sacrifices, because sacrifice means you're satisfying the Supreme Person Vishnu that we saw in this third chapter. So a person, he's active, but he's always conscious that he's a part and parcel of the Lord, and he acts out of love for the Lord. And what is the result of what such actions does not produce any reaction? And not only that, whatever reactions you have accumulated, for example, I am now, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy and his disciples' mercy, I got in touch with Bhagavad Gita this life. But I don't know what all I did in the previous life. Knowingly or unknowingly, I might have committed great sinful activities, because I am prone to do things selfish to myself if I don't know this knowledge. So what about all the reactions? So this working in akarma is such a way that even the previous reactions are burnt into ashes. So that's why it guarantees returns to Krishna's abode. And so what are we supposed to do? Should we leave everything what we are doing now and then go and do a different set of activities? No. What is mentioned here is that we do the same activities, but the purpose is different. The attitude is different. It is like this: a patient who is suffering from a disorder of the bowels due to overindulgence in milk products is cured by another milk product, namely curds. So if we take over milk product, eating curd, the probiotic is a cure. Okay, so similarly, the materially absorbed conditioned soul, that is us, we can be cured by Krishna consciousness as set forth herein in the Gita. This process is generally known as yajna or activities simply meant for the satisfaction of Vishnu or Krishna. We have to eat, we have to take a bath, we have to work. All our activities, if we are doing it as yajna or for the satisfaction of Vishnu, then all of them become a karma. So that's what we need to see, how to mold in such a way that the normal activities that we are doing can become a karma, or that activities are technically called yajna or sacrifices. So there are different types of sacrifices performed by different type of people that he covers in 23 to 32. There are people who wants results. They may not be interested in spiritual elevation, but they want to live a good life and get good results. So they go to demigods and they offer some different sacrifices. And there are jnana yogis who want to merge into the Brahman effulgence of the Lord, and they do sacrifices for that end. And brahmacharis were celibate people. They are offering senses in the fire of mind control. They are always controlling their senses and controlling the mind. And grahasthas, they offer the sense objects in the fire of senses. And so in restricted sense enjoyment, they are also performing a yajna. And then the people who follow Patanjali's yoga system, they do the self-control. That is also mentioned here, that how they inhale and exhale, and after some time they inhale and exhale in such a way that instead of exhaling, they can return the passage of the exhaling air into the inhaling air. That's called Kumbhaka Yoga. And because of that, what they are doing, they are circulating the air inside, and ultimately their lifetime is long is increased, so that they don't need to die and take birth again, and their self-realization process is not hindered. So that is one method. They follow that. And there is people who follow charity and austerity and mysticism. They have eightfold mystic powers. And there is Swadhyaya Yajna, and there is Pranayama. This is what I was mentioning about the control of the senses. But the aim of all this is self-realization and also God realization. So with that end, these different things are limbs of different sacrifices that different people can perform. People who cannot perform the ultimate sacrifice, it's not that they don't do anything, they do something somewhere and advance towards the ultimate purpose of life. So how to obtain this jnana? So this is a most important shloka. Krishna would have told this initially. He started telling this, but Arjuna interrupted him with a question about how he can understand that he was born much before. Now Krishna is coming to the point what he was trying to say, that tatvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. And what we should do, inquire from him submissively, not challengingly, and render service to him. Because if we render service to him, the Lord is pleased. Why? Because he is a representative of the Lord. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. The spiritual master's position is like these glasses. If I don't have this glass, I cannot see properly. But this glass nullifies or makes me overcome my disease of not being, my disease of cataract that I have. That's because of my ignorance. Like, oh, that's what we sing, Om Ajnana Timirandasa Jnananjana Shalakaya. So he's the one who is removing the darkness. So this doesn't change anything. You see, this glass is not going to change the subject matter, but the glass is making, even if I am in a diseased condition, I am the glass is making me making the knowledge accessible to me. So similarly, the spiritual master is a person who is coming in the disciplic succession and who is a liberated soul, because he is completely, like how he's performing a karma, he's completely in the consciousness of the Lord. He's not selfish performing anything for himself, but he's performing everything for the Lord. And so by rendering service to him and hearing from him, we learn this knowledge, the trick how to do that, how to practice this. Because Bhagavad Gita is not a book on theory. You can write exams, like I can memorize this shloka and go on, but whether I'm practicing, for practicing I need to see someone who's practicing, and I need to promise to someone that I will practice. That is like you're going in a lane. There are two yellow lines that you cannot cross, otherwise you'll be in an accident. So like that way, there are rules and regulations that we promise to the spiritual master that we will follow, and the spiritual master also blesses us that you will be able to follow if you sincerely uh, try. And like that way, that is how this knowledge is got, not theoretical knowledge. That's why it's a mystery, it's an open secret. So what will happen to us if we obtain the real knowledge from the self-realized soul? We will never again fall into such illusion, because we will see that every living being is a part and parcel of Krishna. And what is the glories of getting that knowledge, or how important it is, how inevitable is this? This transcendental knowledge is spiritual understanding, and it is like, even if you are the most sinful of sinners, if we are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, we will be able to cross over the ocean of misery. The misery is like an ocean. I may be an expert swimmer, but I can't swim from the Atlantic Ocean. I don't have energy to swim the Atlantic Ocean, and Atlantic Ocean is so small. We are in the ocean of birth and death, million times more bigger than Atlantic Ocean, and we need a boat to be rescued. And that boat is transcendental knowledge, and the captain of the boat is a spiritual master who's practicing the transcendental knowledge and showing us by his personal example. And also this knowledge is compared to the blazing fire, and what it turns into ashes, the firewood. And what is a firewood? Even the previous reactions, the reactions of the sins that are in the seed form, that are in the a form of unripe fruit and the ripened fruit, everything is burnt into ashes um, by this knowledge. And then why then is there some people only who can attain the knowledge and some people cannot? Krishna says yes. A faithful person who's dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge. But if we are ignorant and faithless and doubt, then we fall down. So what is the meaning of faith? That means suppose I mean I tell you, trust me, and then I say you come here and meet me at this point at this time. So faith, if you what do you mean that? I mean, I say something and you have faith on me, means you come there and you see. So that means uh, you follow what I'm saying. So that is faith. So even after reading Bhagavad Gita and quoting shlokas and trying to understand, we could still doubt if we are ignorant and faithless. So if we doubt, then we fall down, and then there is no happiness neither in this world nor in the next. But if we have faith, yeah, then we go. It's like, starting, you put the GPS, you put the Waze or maps, and then you start the car. But if you say that I doubt whether this map is true or not, whether it's really valid or it's not, it's something, it's fake. If we think that the map is fake and we don't even start the car, we are the loser, right? But if we depend on the map, put the faith in the instructions of the map and say, first take turn right, drive safely, and then go right, go left. And if we start driving, then we see the milestones, then our faith increases. But first, we need to trust the map and start the engine. So that is a faith that we have. And finally, he says that tasmadajnana sambhutam hridstam jnanasinatmanah chitvainam samshayam yogam atishto tishta bharatam. This transcendental knowledge is like a sword. With the weapon of this knowledge, the ignorance that is clouding the heart can be slashed to pieces. So Krishna is saying to Arjuna, armed with this yoga, stand and fight. The summary is that the text 1 to 4 is the knowledge about how this transcendental knowledge Krishna himself spoke to Sun God, and then it was coming in the disciplic succession, it was lost, and then he retold it to Arjuna. And then we saw that how His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is coming from the disciplic succession starting from Brahma, and there are 4 other disciplic successions which are bona fide, and that knowledge was given. Then Arjuna interrupted with a question that I couldn't understand how you were there 120 million years ago. Then Krishna said, yes, Arjuna, you come, even though you are with me, you change your body. So you don't remember, but I never change my body, and I am complete spirit, and I am the controller, and I am creator of this material world, but I'm untouched by karma. And a person who knows the mystery of my appearance and activities, they doesn't have to take birth again. So that is 5 to 10 and 11 to 15 and 16 to 24. He says about karma, understanding karma on the platform of the knowledge, and then through different how to perform karma, and when that karma becomes a yajna, and what are the different types of yajna or sacrifices, and finally the method, results, and glories of attaining jnana. So, yeah, that's a short overview summary of the transcendental knowledge. Thanks to Srila Prabhupada, Granth Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai, Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for patiently listening. If you have anything to share, any questions, up to my understanding, I can answer that.
Thank you, Lalitangi Radha Mataji. This was actually a very, very beautiful presentation with a lot of practical examples. Thank you so much, Mataji. So we open it to the participants. Anyone has any questions, comments, or anything you just want to ask Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mataji. It was this deliverance was very heartwarming, and I look forward again to our teaching next week. This time, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for your interest and inspiration. We are really happy to have you with us, Eugene Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Danvat pranams. Such a beautiful class, Mataji. I have one question. Can I ask, Mataji?
Yeah, if I know the answer, I will tell. I'm not sure. Yeah.
You know, Mataji. Mataji, my question was, in the second shloka, Krishna is saying that this disciplic succession was broken, right? He himself is claiming that. So how do we then accept the parampara? I mean, the next slide which was shown, when Krishna himself is saying that this is broken, then how can we be sure that this is the right parampara, Mataji?
Okay, so Krishna was saying that that which he spoke to Sun God, that was broken. But then he's again, this thing he's speaking it to Brahma. You see, yeah. So here it's Krishna, Brahma, Narada, Vyasa, Madhva. Not that all disciplic succession was broken, but at that point of time, that which he spoke to Sun God and Vivaswan, to Manu, Manu to Ikshvaku, and like that. I don't know exactly where it was broken and how, but Krishna says that was broken. And so he's again talking it to Arjuna now and reinitiating the parampara. But this parampara that is mentioned here is Brahma, Madhva, and this was not mentioned as broken. I don't know
So,
if I answered.
okay, it starts with Krishna, Brahma, then Narada. So this was much earlier, right, Mataji, in the beginning of creation. So, so Arjuna comes much later, right, towards the end of Dwapara Yuga, almost like beginning of Kali Yuga. So, so
So
you're
this
saying
is,
only that Surya Parampara was broken, Mataji?
yeah, that's what Krishna says. And yeah, I don't know if anyone else wants to add. That's my understanding, Mataji, but still I can ask to the seniors and get more details.
Sure, Mataji. I've read this, but only because of your class, I'm getting the idea of this question. Thank you so much, Mataji, for making me think. I really appreciate your class. It's so deep and profound, and every time I listen to you, I'm like, I've never read the Gita before. I get that feeling. So I'm
That's
very
your
grateful to you, Mataji.
that's your humility, Mataji. I'm just following what a fantastic presentation you did last week.
No, no, Mataji. It's your potency you're passing on to me. So, sure. Thank you so much, Mataji. I really appreciate your class so much. Every time I listen, I'm getting like so many questions in my mind, like I've never read earlier like that, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Your
Hare
humility. Hare Krishna. So, Preeti Lasni Mataji, would you like to add on this? Yeah, okay. No problem. Yeah.
Yeah, so anyone else has any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for beautiful class.
Thank you, Mataji, for facilitating this.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Lakshmi Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji, for such a wonderful class. Mataji, I have a few basic questions, Mataji.
Yeah,
So-
your questions are really, very nice, wonderful, and welcome, Mataji. We learn from them. Thank you.
But
Go
they're
ahead,
beginner
Mataji.
level, Mataji. Please bear for that. Mataji, the 4.7 Mataji, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya, where Krishna is saying when there is a decline in religious practice. So what do we really mean? What does Krishna mean by decline in religious practice? Because depending on the different yuga, the practice will be changed. And
Yeah.
in Satya Yuga, they were following the Vedas. Then as the yugas were passing, obviously it was changed because there were deity worship. Now it is Nama Sankirtan. So what is the meaning of the decline in religious practice, Mataji?
Okay, so during Krishna's time, if you see, the rulers were all demoniac, Kamsa. So the first thing what they say is, don't do sacrifices. Nobody should do sacrifice. Hiranyakashipu, I am the Lord. So you don't need to do sacrifice for the demigods because all the demigods are under my control and I am supreme. So this is the decline of religious principle because basically they don't want to understand the supremacy of the Lord, and neither they would allow the people to do that also. So if you see King Vena or many people, they say that the Brahmanas were not able to lit the fire and do sacrifices. So whatever that religion for that particular yuga that has to be done, that is stopped. When it is stopped, then Krishna comes and re-establishes it. Is that okay? Like Jarasandha, what did he do? He had 20,000 kings imprisoned, and he was giving them a bali. sacrifice. So this was a ruler. You know how you can kill another king, but he was ready to do that. So that was a decline in religious principle. A king is supposed to give protection to the other lesser kings, whoever is under, but he wants to kill like the same way Narakasura, Bhaumasura, what he did, he had a weird hobby of collecting all the virgin uh, princesses. So yeah, when the like this way religion is taking a beating, then Krishna comes.
Okay, Mataji. So in our case, so it's Kali Yuga. So here the Yuga Dharma is Nama Sankirtan. So here what will happen if the Nama Sankirtan is totally gone, or what will trigger the coming of Lord, the next avatar?
Okay, so it is mentioned here that in Kali Yuga, in the first part, especially the Lord will incarnate in His holy name. Now, actually, He has incarnated in the holy name, and whoever is taking, and this thing will, it is mentioned in the Bhavishya Puran that it will be there for 10,000 years. So after that, again, Kali will come in full speed. If you see Buddha, before the age of Buddha, there was rampant animal killing in the name of sacrifices. Animals were killed, and the whole world and the kings and everyone was following this adharma. So Buddha came. So now there is adharma in many different ways, and Lord Chaitanya came and he gave this holy name, and because of that, few intelligent people will get delivered. But those who don't want to do this, they stay here, and then at the end of Kali Yuga, which is 427,000 years from now, Krishna will come as Kalki avatar, and he actually finishes all of them and annihilates them, because there will be only miscreants and demons at the end of Kali Yuga, and then sets again the process rolling again. It's Satya Yuga. Is that okay, Mataji?
Given in the Puran, Bhavishya Puran.
Yeah.
Okay, Mataji, that answers that. And one more question, Mataji, in verse 9, Janma Karmam Ch Divya, where one understands my appearance and activities, he will not take birth again. So, Mataji, we know from the word, I'm trying to understand the word understand here, because we know when we read Krishna book and when we listen to Prabhupada lectures and everything, we understand Krishna's appearance, coming, his activities, everything. So what does this understand mean? What level we have to understand Krishna?
I read in the purport that understanding means completely 100% conscious of Krishna. I mean, not just like how we read right here, we see. Yeah, this is a Krishna conscious person is about duality, because especially verses 19 to 22, they say about what it is meant to understand. He has no attraction for the results of the action. He knows that he's completely a part and parcel of the Lord, and not even one thing he does for himself. And then one more thing he says, after Janma Karma Chame Divyam, 2 shlokas he says, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha Manmaya Mam Upashritaha Bahavo Jnana Tapasa Putamat Bhava Magataha. So he's saying that one who understands my appearance and activities will not come back again to this material world. Suppose we all really think what it is, whether really people have attained that. So Krishna, nullifies that doubt, telling that it is text 10, being freed from attachment, fear and anger, being fully absorbed in me, and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attain transcendental love for me. So that is what is understanding. Then again, in text 14, which we had here, yeah, where he said, yeah, I didn't put the shloka, but the shloka goes like this, the translation: there is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in fruitive reactions, because all of his activities are akarma, doesn't produce any reaction, good or bad, 100%, 24/365. That is the meaning of understanding the birth and the activities of the Lord. If we are not yet there, that means we have not understood that much. How much we are doing, that much we have understood.
Okay, Mataji. So completely doing a karma only for Krishna, and that is what the meaning understand refers there. So we have to
Right.
reach that level, like a Nitya Siddha, who is always in Krishna consciousness.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. That's beautiful. That's understood. And one small doubt, Mataji, in text 14, verse 14, where you said that Lord is a proprietor of everything and he facilitates the action. For example, if we are going to do some action, he's going to facilitate it, but Lord is not responsible for it. So how does he facilitate the action? So the word facilitates here, how does Krishna facilitate the action of the jivas? As a
Yes, so
Paramatma, let us to do that.
yeah, and also he gives the facilities, like, we can't produce the air that we are breathing, we cannot produce it, right? So the food that we are eating, that for to cook that, fire is required, and he's saying, I am the splendor in fire, and without sunshine the plants will not grow. So he says, I am the sunshine and the moonshine. And not only that, he is giving the he is inside our heart as Paramatma, and he is inside our stomach as the Agni for digestion. And he's a Lord of our mind and Lord of our intelligence. So in every aspect, we will see that in the 15th chapter. So he facilitates our activities. Without his facilitation, we will not be able to do anything. But then he's not responsible for our activities as much as the owner pays salary for the employees. But what the employees does with the salary and the reaction that they get is not, owner is not responsible for it. Although it is true that without the salary given by owner, the employees cannot do anything. So that is Krishna's role of facilitation. Why this thing here he's doing is because naturally we have seen that so much coronavirus, so many people are dying. Where is your God? If something bad happens in the family, then they ask, where is your God you are talking about? So basically they think that whenever something bad happens to me, by default, I blame the Lord because the Lord has done this bad to me. But that's not what it is. We are responsible for our good and bad, and God is not responsible for that, but he facilitates that. But bhakti is so good that even if we get bad, that will help us only to become, to get closer and closer to him. And that's another off topic, but this is the thing, Mataji. Is that okay?
Actually, the life itself is given by him, and we use everything given by Krishna. The way he facilitates us to live, but the actions we are responsible. Like
Right.
Okay, Mataji, that's understood. And only one final doubt, Mataji, in the last slide, 39 to 40. So a faithful man who is dedicated to this knowledge, and there is in the purport it says, who also subdues his senses. Yes, a faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge. So yes, subdue means like we regulate our senses, or we control. What does the subdue here means, Mataji?
Subdue means, like, Krishna is saying, do something, don't do something, right? So we although the senses push us to do some things that is that Krishna says don't do, I still don't do it because the senses are pushing me. I don't go ahead and do it, but I remain faithful to the Lord, to His instruction. Because there are so many opportunities, right? And the senses are always attracted towards the sense objects. Like there is no meat eating. But then, there are people who say, I mean, there everywhere there is advertisements and this and that. And so just because that allurement is there, I don't say that, oh, Krishna only gave me this allurement. So that means he wants me to give up this regulative principle. No, that's not it. Krishna said, this is the regulative principle. Then I remain faithful to him, even though the senses push me to go against him, I subdue it by his mercy, not by our own endeavor, I mean, power, by his mercy.
Okay, Mataji, because we will be faithful to God and we believe in God, but at the same time we get inclined towards our senses. We go in the way that our senses says. So that's
Right.
what I said. Yes, Mataji, that's clear. Okay, Mataji, thank you so much for your class and also wonderful answers. Now it is very clear, Mataji. Thank you for your service. Jai Sachinandana, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi Mataji, for your wonderful questions. And yeah, your association is very inspiring. Thank you. Deepika Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much for your wonderful class. Mataji, I have one small clarification. Maybe I'm that may be not logical as well, but I would like to clear up. Mataji, can you say us the difference between avatar and the incarnation, Mataji?
Both are same. Avatar is the Sanskrit word for incarnation. Of course, there are different types of incarnation. Even in this purport, Prabhupada talks Leela avatar, Guna avatar, Yuga avatar, Manmantra avatar, like that. But yeah, incarnation is the English word for avatar.
Okay. Okay, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah. Mataji.
Yeah, yes, Mataji. So thank you all so much again. And is there anyone else who wants to say anything?
I think Sukam Sagri Mataji has another question.
Yes. Mataji, I'm just, go ahead, Mataji.
Yeah, don't worry. If you're busy, Mataji, we can end the call.
Sponsors for the previous quizzes, and we'll be sending out questionnaire for this quiz as well. So please stay tuned and we'll send you the feedback very soon. Just wanted to say that before I log out. Thank you so much, Lalitangi, Mataji, and all of you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just noticing you in the last moment. Preeti Mataji has messaged that she's kept another location for the questions for chapter 2 and chapter 3, but I couldn't access it. I'm not sure that other devotees are able to access it.
Oh, I think. Are you in the group, Mataji? Deepika Mataji, are you in the WhatsApp group?
Yes, Mataji, I do there, and I access the link where Preeti Mataji has messaged, but it's throwing up an error for me. But that's why I'm asking: is other devotees able to access it, so I could try in some other way?
A couple of devotees said they were able to access Mata. But what kind of error are you getting, if I can ask?
The file cannot be opened, something like that, I remember.
Oh.
Mataji, and also I revisited the chapter 2 questions to re-put my inputs, but even that is showing as chapter 3 quiz when I opened the form. So I couldn't resend my previous, the chapter 2 as well. If not chapter 3, at least,
Mataji, Mataji has messaged in the chat box. She says it worked for her. There is a folder with all the 3 quizzes there. I didn't go to such a folder, Mataji, because that's the latest link, because we wanted to throw all the 3 quizzes out there for people who may not have answered. So that is the right one for you to access. It's in the chat box, which is posted.
Yes,
Please try,
Mataji.
and
Now I could open. I checked it, Mataji. I could open it. Thank you so much, Mataji.
thanks, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Please let us know on the group if you're still having any issues.
Sure, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you, Mata. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So, anybody else?
Mataji, I just wanted to add that the literal meaning for subdues would be to bring under control, if that helps. I mean, I just wanted to add.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. You had anything else, Mataji, to say?
I had a question, but if it's too late, then we can take it offline, Mataji. No worries at all.
Okay. Yeah. Then maybe if there is no more, so we will adjourn for today. So thank you all very much for joining. So this Bhagavad Gita is like an ocean, and the more, there's no end to it, literally. And we are very fortunate to be able to access this knowledge and discuss as much as our capacity allows. So thank you all very much for joining. I offer my humble obeisances to all of you. Mancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
Vidanta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
जय।
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.